first and foremost, thank you for
Pleasure, mate.
coming on. I know you're a very busy man, and I know
Pleasure.
you've got a lot on, so I really appreciate the time. But, people will probably see this and think that I've got you on for, your football career and everything you've done, which we'll probably cover a little bit because it's a part of the story. But how we met was obviously at Edgell University and your role as honorary doctorate and, the work you're doing there with mental health and
the work you're doing there.
Well, me and you. Do you know what I mean? There's a few of us. Shout out to Sam as well on that.
You two are doing great stuff.
Yeah,
mate.
so that I'd like to get sort of work backwards to that point and sort of talk about the story of how you got here. So I always think it's sort of to start at the beginning. So football, big part of your life, massive part of your life. How did that come about from into pro days?
Always been. So I was an outfielder to start with, like Sunday League. Yeah, I was never any good. I was always on the bench, and then I was obsessed with sport. Loved golf, cricket. Spoke, but not rugby.
Rugby.
Played one game of that at school and got hit into next week, and thought, why would you do that to yourself? I can still feel the hit now.
Yeah,
and that put me off. Never played that again. But yeah, everything else: tennis, golf. Rounders, all that sort of stuff. Loved it all, but football was the one thing that I loved most. But outfielder, and then I was playing for a Sunday League team, Barwell, where I lived. And the goalkeeper got injured, and the manager said to me, "Oh, you're gonna have to go in goal because you're the only one on the bench. We've got no one else." I said, "Well, I've never played in goal." He said, "Well, you're big, so just try and stop the ball." And that was literally my first game. Wow. And then the space of that, 4 years later, I'm making my debut in the Premier League. So it was a real rapid rise. But I had some brilliant coaches around me. When I went to Blaibin West in a team in Leicester, they were seen as, if you're at Blaibin West, you were seen you're half decent. They had two coaches, Paul Dan and Mick Pearce, who sort of went above and beyond for us. Right. So whenever I did a couple of talks this week, and they said, "What's your one piece of advice for coaches?" And I just said, "It's not about you. It's about the player." Yeah. And those two were exactly like that. It wasn't about them. It was about trying to help the players, and they certainly did with me. And then it just took off really, really quick. So within the space of 4.5 years, I was playing in the Premier League, which was,
That's insane. I mean, how was that to even navigate?
It was so quick. And in a way, I'm glad it happened that way, because a lot of lads these days are signed up at academies from like 6-7 years old. They're built up that they're going to be footballers, and they believe they are, and then they get to 16, 17, they get released. But for me, it was later on, and I could still do all the school stuff, still get into a bit of trouble. Never any like serious, bunked off school here and there.
It didn't become your identity.
No.
I found that lads, obviously, where I'm from, rugby is the be all and end all, and these lads that get signed up, to like your Wigans, your St Helens, early age,
that's there.
Very much comes them.
Yeah.
They are a part of that. Yeah. They are the rugby player. They are, or they're destined to be the next big thing. Yeah. And they feel shackled.
Yeah, and then I signed schoolboys youth team at Coventry when I was 16. And again, then that's when it steps up another level. But they had two keepers that signed at the same time. Me and another lad who was seen as, he was probably better than me at the start. And he was talked about as the next England keeper, the next all sorts. It always comes down to that. One thing I knew he didn't have, he wouldn't work as hard as I do.
Yeah.
And his attitude wasn't as good as mine. And unfortunately, he never played again. Never went on to play football professionally anyway. But my career, I started training with the first team. I was around great people again, like Stevie Grisovich, Jim Blythe, my goalie coach, Gordon Strachan, Andy Harvey, the kit man, who, if anyone knows about football and rugby, the kit men are just probably one of the most important people in the club, along with the physio department. So I was around good people. Dion Dublin captain, Gary McAllister. So seeing that at an early age, and we stayed as a youth team at the first team training ground. So we'd seen them every single day. Used to clean the cars, used to clean the boots, like all the proper jobs. They
earn your stripes.
Yeah, they don't do that anymore nowadays because of safeguard, whatever, all that sort of stuff. But we loved all that.
Yeah.
And started training with the first team, and then got in the first team, and things just never slowed down after that.
No, because you was the most expensive keeper, wasn't you?
Yeah, so I signed. So I was there for I was at Coventry since I was 16, left at 20. And then went to Liverpool, which is a club I've always supported as a boy.
Yeah, I saw that picture the other week when we did the talk together.
So, I used to get the bus up with my dad, and stand on the cot. As a kid. So it was a dream come true.
There was that moment to walk out at Anfield and be sort of that price tag on you, and there's no expectation of that.
When I was a kid, I had no pressure at all. Wow. Didn't feel any nerves, didn't feel any pressure.
Loved it.
Just loved it. Wanted to train. I was the first in every day, last to leave. I just loved the what entailed being a footballer. Not the glitz and glam, but all like the hard work stuff, getting to the training ground, doing your stuff after, going to the gym, doing all that sort of stuff. I thrived off. That's what I still do so much now with like the gym stuff. And that was just built in me. Weren't bothered about the other side, going out partying, and we did and stuff, but that wasn't what it was about.
But do you think too many people are trying to be footballers for that reason now, rather
glitz and glam?
Yeah,
I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are. And obviously, listen, I played with lads back then that only played for the money.
Yeah.
Weren't bothered about the football, just played for the money. As long as they still try and still do the right things,
they're there for the team.
That's fine. Yeah. But it's when they're not bothered, and now I've played with a few that are not bothered about the team or not bothered about that, and that's when it becomes a big, big problem, especially in the dressing room.
I can imagine, because you was captain at Wigan, wasn't you, as well? And, you've mentioned there about the attitude and everything, you're almost your core values that you stand by.
Yeah.
When you then get that responsibility of the dressing room and things like that,
brilliant.
How do you navigate that?
It's tough at times because, you have a couple of people that help you out. So, Gary Coleman was a club captain when he weren't there. I was the captain. But you have a couple of you that sort of man it, and then you've got lads in the room that obviously you get on great with, and they sort of keep check of the others. But you get sometimes some lads that just not bothered at all and come in late, out to training late. You go for dinners, they keep you waiting and all that sort of stuff. So you have to handle that accordingly, but you've got to you can't just rant and rave. You've got to do it in a certain way. Give them a couple of chances, and then if they're still doing it, then you clamp down on them.
Yeah, and it's so interesting for sort of even think that still happens at that level. Do you know what I mean? And sort of people just almost rest on the laurels about
the story like with was it Sacco at Liverpool? He pre-season was late for meetings, kept late being on the bus, Jurgen was telling them, all the lads were getting ordered. Eventually sold him.
Yeah.
Because he says your attitude's poor. You can't keep players like that.
No, it has too much of a detrimental effect.
It is.
Especially if you're a team that wants to, go places, you just don't.
But I loved the responsibility though of being captain.
Yeah. So what was that like from, that decision from going from moving away from Liverpool? Obviously had a big connection to it, and that sort of boiled sort of relationship.
Well, the decision to go to Liverpool was as easy as it was hard as well, because I was leaving home.
Yeah.
So I was only just turned 20. I was 19 when when I knew that move was going to happen. I was still 19 and I was 20 when it happened. Yeah, I think I've said to this before, I had Leona, my girlfriend, with me at the time, and she moved up, my wife now. And without her, it would have been a lot harder. Yeah. So we moved up together and we made a life up here, and we still live up here to this day. But it was daunting. It was not the nerves of signing for Liverpool, because it's something that was a dream come true. It was just more moving away from home, moving away from friends, everything you'd known for 19, 20 years.
Yeah.
Obviously, you go back now and again, but with football, I thought I'd be back a lot more than I did. But with football, you just got no time.
Yeah.
Especially when you're playing in the Champions League, you 2-3 games a week. So it was hard, but I had Leona with me, and we made it work together. And then leaving Liverpool was tough again, but I knew it had to, because the manager come in, Rafa, and said, "Look, don't want you.
Yeah.
Don't want an English goalkeeper, I want a foreign goalkeeper." And that was it. So it was, and I didn't want to move because Leona was pregnant. She was nearly due. So this was in 2006. This was in the June, July. Leona was due in the November we were first. So I didn't want to move like base.
Yeah.
Because that would have been a massive upheaval for her. So I wanted to stay in the Northwest, which is limiting your clubs.
Yeah.
Which is very limiting your clubs. Luckily, Wigan come on the phone and said, "Look," Paul Jewell said, "Look, come here." He says, "I want you here." He says, "I know how good you are. I know you've had a tough time at Liverpool the last year. That's not your fault." He says, "Come here and show people what you can do." And as soon as I walked through the door at Wigan, it just fit.
Just clicked.
Oh, I just fit. I was made to wait 2 days by Rafa.
Yeah.
So the deal was done, and then he was messing around, and I sat in the canteen at Wigan for like 2 days, not being able to train, because they're saying that they've changed the deal, they're doing this, they're doing that. And so, and then eventually Paul Jewell come down. He says it needs to be done today now. He says, "Come and listen to what I'm dealing with." So he made me listen to, put it on loudspeaker, and I could hear Rafa and he was saying, no, he signs when I say, so when the deal and all this. And Paul said, "Well, if it's not done in the next 10 minutes, I'm sending him back down the M58. Yeah. Paul's looking at me going, and then literally 5 minutes after he put the phone down, I got a call, not off Rafa, off Frankie McFarland, who was his go-to man.
Yeah.
He just said, "Yeah, right, we've agreed the deal," and it was done then. But it was just Rafa doing what he did. He wanted to be like on his terms. It happens when he says it happens. But then it was best time I've had in football.
Love that.
Particularly the first 3 years, 4 years. The last two bit difficult when a new manager come in. But yeah, those 2 or 3 years, 2006, 2009, were brilliant.
So I'm like really interested in, obviously, I know you quite well now. We've done a bit of work together. We speak quite a lot and stuff. And, navigating the life of a footballer. I know you've mentioned there about the glitz and glam. It wasn't for you. You just wanted to go in, work hard and play football. But obviously with being a footballer, naturally, life in the public eye, I imagine, just is unavoidable. How was that to sort of be, you were so young when you went into football?
It's changed now, isn't it? I mean, when listen, we still went out, particularly Wigan. We were out a lot. We went in Manchester.
What a place.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, we went out in Wigan, but we more Manchester.
Yeah.
But phones weren't like social media is now. It wasn't
prevalent.
I mean, now that there's cameras on you everywhere, so we got away with a lot of stuff that probably won't get away with now. Not naughty stuff, but just lads being lads.
You can let your hair down a bit more.
But yeah, I mean, it was totally, when you're getting, going out for food and stuff, and you're getting abused, particularly when Lucy was born, we'd go out and you had comments and all sorts. But it shouldn't happen, but it does. But it didn't. It stopped. To be fair, it stopped you going out a few times.
Yeah.
If you thought you were going here and you thought, I can't be bothered with what it entails. I mean, now it's totally different.
Yeah.
They can't do anything these days, which is wrong, because you still live a life. And people that say, well, they paid that much money, they've got to accept it. But you've still got to have a life.
Balance is key, isn't it?
Yeah, got to be, yeah. I've seen something online yesterday, it was Simicus picking up a Chinese or something, and he's been mullered for it. And then the other flip side is, oh my God, he's picking up a Chinese.
Yeah.
He's a human being.
He's just a person, isn't it?
Yeah. So it can go from one extreme to the other. But in general, not really had too many issues when we've been out. We've had a few bits and bobs, but I think we've got away with a lot.
Yeah. So for
my height as well, because I'm not the easiest to miss.
No, you're
but my wife's Scottish, and she can go some. So whoever anyone does think about starting, take care of Mrs.
Yeah, she's a lovely woman, but she's the boss. Yeah, that's the best way to be. I'm sure Nick will say that she is the boss as well.
When I get called Christopher, that's when I think.
That's when the knees shudder. Yeah, you're in trouble. Yeah. But when you come obviously toward the end of your career, you moved, you went to Chef Wednesday. Yeah. That's right, isn't it? And
yes,
a lot of what you do now is probably an extension of that period of your life, isn't it? Sort of the work you've got into now is really, that was sort of the catalyst.
I think so.
If you want to explain that sort of that journey from.
So obviously I was at Liverpool for 5 years, Wigan for 6, same house, same area, same routine. Lucy was born, dropped off at nursery, picked her up, dropped off at school, all that sort of stuff, all the important stuff, school plays. And then when I went to Sheffield Wednesday in 2012, that all stopped because I was commuting to and from Liverpool, which was my decision. But Lucy had just started school and we didn't want to uproot her, and because it was only a year deal at Sheffield Wednesday, and you don't, uprooting someone for a year's deal is a big.
Yeah.
It's not like you get a 4 or 5 year deal and then you probably should.
You're so settled where you
were. So settled, so I commuted, but that I was then missing all the other stuff. So mentally, it started taking a big toll. And obviously, the story now that's out was about the painkillers. Got addicted to tramadol and cocodamol, but kept that to myself for 10 years. And it was really, really tough. Ended up me retiring in 2016, even though I come back to Preston thinking I'm closer to home, I can start feeling better, get off the tablets, but it just didn't work out, and I just didn't want to do anything anymore. Just didn't want to play. Certainly didn't want to play football. Didn't want to live. Just my head was just all over the place. Just didn't. You couldn't make sense. I couldn't make sense of anything.
Yeah, it
was just like a constant migraine all the time. So I retired from football in 2016, way too early. I was only 35. Could have carried on, not at the top level, but I could have carried on till 40 easy. And that was always my aim. Yeah. When I got to 30, I thought, right, I'm fit. I want to get to 40. And that was always my aim, to get to 40. But 5 years too soon.
Yeah. With that, we've spoken in the past, and I know you sort of relate a lot to the change in routine being a big factor in what sort of, drove you to like the painkillers because it had like the effect on
the anxiety. Yeah. And I used them to cope with the anxiety because they helped at the start. But it becomes an addiction really, really quick, like any addiction.
Yeah, and the stigma I imagine, well, the work that we do at Edge is sort of around the stigma with men, and I can imagine, especially in top level professional football and stuff, there's probably a bit of an expectation for it be, I
think from the outside, but I got asked this the other day, and if I'd have said to Sheffield Wednesday, look, I'm struggling here, they'd have helped.
Yeah.
Because they were a brilliant club. The physio is a friend now that I speak to all the time, and he always said, why don't you tell me?
Yeah.
He said, I've helped you. So they would have helped me. And I know they would have done. And the club were brilliant, but I just didn't. I didn't really know. I thought you always think, next week will be different. I'll change. I'll feel better. I'll get used to the travelling. I'll get used to being away from home. And then the longer you leave it, and a week passes, and it's just a spiral. Then
it was more deep rooted.
Even though you should, you just can't.
Yeah.
It's the hardest thing to do. And over 3 years, it just got worse and worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, and I know like you've obviously talked about it in the past and sort of the level in which sort of you went to get around it and keep it to yourself and I
was getting them off everywhere.
Yeah.
Internet. I was getting them sent to like some friends had them. I wouldn't tell them. I'd say I'm struggling. They never knew, obviously. But I got them from anywhere. I called multiple doctors. Never from the club doctors.
No.
Never from club doctors because they'd have twigged.
Yeah.
Which I wish I would have done because they'd have twigged eventually and gone, you're all right.
They'd have intervened.
Yeah. But I never did because I probably knew that would happen. And you don't want them knowing. Yeah. So it was getting them from anywhere I could.
Was it sort of the passion of wanting to play, also be a footballer, but like, you'd sort of do anything for keep it, even though it meant going to these further far afield places that were impacting you so much?
Once the addiction kicks in, then it's about the addiction.
Yeah.
It's not about the football.
The initial phase, sorry.
The initial is just because it makes you feel better.
Yeah.
Made me feel better. Made me less anxious. Had a slight, nothing serious at all. And that went within a couple of days, but then they were helping with the anxiety.
Yeah.
So I used them for that, but then the more you use them, the more it messes you up mentally.
Almost that light bulb that, my injury's better,
then it's an addiction.
Then
it's an addiction, and I tried to stop and the withdrawals, then I'd have to train. I remember training a few times where I was sweating, I couldn't see the ball. I was thinking, wow, it can't be the tablet, surely, because I've not took them. And then I'd go in and take them and feel a million times better.
Yeah.
I was thinking, wow, I can't not function. I can't not do it without these now. Yeah. And but then after 3 to 6 months, I knew I was addicted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what was sort of the,
because the last thing I thought about at night and the first thing I thought about in the morning. Yeah.
Human.
Knew where they were. I'd have them out ready by the side of the bed. The plan when to have them in the morning, when to, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So wait till the missus goes to sleep, take them out of the packet, put them by the bed. Hide them just around by the lamp, like the lamp, and the things you do are frightening. Yeah. That's the addiction.
But when, you said there about 3 to 6 months in that you was like, this is an issue. What was then sort of the internal battle going forward? Because obviously you had the addiction and things like that, but was there anything that you started for trying to do at that point before,
Say I stopped for a couple of days, but then I'd have withdrawals.
Yeah.
But no, by then I was properly. It was the addiction then.
Yeah.
Which needed to take them, and mentally they weren't making us feel any good. They were just making us feel worse. But the withdrawals were just terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, terrible.
So when you got to, obviously, I know your story, but for those who don't, when rock bottom eventually came, what did that look like for you? And sort of what
it was coming for a while.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was signing again for Sheffield Wednesday. I've been there 3 years. In 2015, I drove over in the morning to sign again. They said, look, we want you to sign again. They're going to give me a couple of year deal. I was in my training kit. I was doing all the tests pre-season. And in the back of my head, I'm thinking, I'm not signing there. I'm not signing. I can't. I need to get back home. But I'm in my full training kit. I've gone into the room. The contract's on the table. And I've just said, I had the pen in my hand and I just said, I can't sign. I need to be closer to home. And left in my training kit. Like the staff was stunned. Like they had no idea.
Yeah.
And then I was getting calls on the way home. And then I said, listen, I said it was Leona to start with. I said, Leona's really struggling. I need to be closer to home for her. and left Sheffield Wednesday, signed for Preston. I didn't have the club, so I didn't. I literally drove away not having a club.
Yeah.
But I was sitting in the back of my mind thinking, I'll get a club, but will it be in the Northwest again? So I was thinking, it needs to be in the Northwest.
Could have been even worse.
Yeah. So, but if there was a club down south, I wouldn't have signed. I'd have stopped there and then. But then a couple of clubs locally come in, and then Preston come in, which was just up the road. So I went to them, but I was taking way too many tablets. I was depressed. I just didn't want to train. Certainly didn't want to play. So they rang me and said, "Look, come in, be number 2 to Jordan Pickford. He's going to play." And I was delighted, thinking I don't have to play.
Yeah,
great. So all I can do is train. Might have to play the odd game here and there. So for me, that was ideal. But then I left. I was going to sign again at Preston as well, and they offered me a new contract, and I was going to go in and sign it again. I would have signed it because it was local, and then they took that away. They said, "Oh, we've changed our mind now. We want to sign somebody younger," like literally on a day. So then I'm feeling bad anyway. Just lost my dog after 14 years, so I was in a bad way anyway. And then they did that, and I thought. So I said, "Well, I'm not. That's me done." But then when you've done something for so long, you think, "Oh, I can still do it. I can still do it." And you think, the professional pride kicks in. So then Berry rang and said, "Look, come here." It was just down the road again. It was League One, but I weren't bothered about that. So I signed for them, but I knew I never should have done. I knew it was going to end in disaster. I don't know why I signed. Again, probably that professional pride.
That identity maybe of being a footballer.
Yeah. So signed, and then we went away pre-season. I was dreading going away. Didn't want to leave home. By this point, I just didn't want to leave the house. I thought, there's no way I'm going to get on that plane. Got on the plane, I was full of tablets. Got out there, full of tablets. And then the second night, I just thought, I can't live anymore. I don't want to live. So our apartment, so I was on the top floor. I just went out, stood on the roof. And whether I jumped, I don't know. But I was on the edge, and I was just thinking. But then I felt like I pulled back, and it was like I knew it was Leona and Lucy. They weren't there, obviously. And then I rang Leona at like 2:30 in the morning and said, "Well, I'm proper addicted to painkillers and need that. I'm depressed. I feel awful." She went, "All right, you need to come home and we need to get you out." So I flew home the next day, made some excuse to Berry. Eventually, they clicked on and they were brilliant. Dave Flickoff was amazing. And he said, "Look, take a couple of weeks." Took a couple of weeks, went back to training again. And after a day, I just walked off.
Yeah.
Just walked off. And that's when I knew then that was me done. I needed to get help. Contacted the PFA. They were decent. They were good with us to start with. Helped us get off them, and then I missed being a footballer after about 8 months. I was off them, which was the first time was quite easy to get off them. I was really surprised, actually.
Yeah.
Went for a few rough days, but then I was off them then. I was off them for about 8 months. Then I started to miss being a footballer. Started to miss the routine, miss the dressing room. Tried to make a comeback, but my body was, after 8 months, was just like, I can't do this.
It had lost all its foundation.
Yeah. So I went back on them because I was depressed, thinking, what can I do now? What do I do? I'm not a footballer anymore. Got bad again, and then ended up in rehab in 2019. Didn't tell people the real reason again. Told people it was mental health, which it was, but the addiction was making that a lot worse.
Yeah.
Got into rehab, got off them, come out, started doing bits and bobs, enjoying life again, and then lockdown hit. Went back on them.
Yeah.
So it was, so failed 3 times, but because I didn't tell people. Leona knew, but not the extent I was taking them to. Until the 3rd time, so 3 years ago, gone in April, that's when everyone knew the full extent of it. And that wasn't for sympathy, that was just to feel free.
Yeah.
Like shackles off the back, there's no hiding place. We didn't do what they told me to do in rehab, which was get the drug tests at home, tell people, all this sort of stuff. So we did that this time, and it's been over 3 years now. So off antidepressants as well. So I was on all the antidepressants as well. So I was taking far too many of them, like a cocktail of stuff.
Yeah.
So I stopped it all at the same time, April the 17th, 2022. And they say you shouldn't go cold turkey. I just didn't want to put another tablet in my mouth.
Yeah.
So I just went cold turkey and said, right, I'll just face the withdrawals, which I had no idea how tough they were going to be. It's like the thought of it now makes me shudder.
Yeah.
And that's a big driving force why also I've not gone back on them, because to go through the withdrawals again.
Hellish.
Oh my God. Yeah, I was just curled up in my room for a week, I'd probably say.
Wow.
Yeah, just sweating, vomiting, not eating anything, hallucinating, cramping all over my body, like calves, hamstrings, it was, but Leona was checking in on me all the time because I told him and Lucy they were coming in, dabbing us down with towels and all this sort of stuff, putting us in the shower. So we got through it, and then it's about maintenance and putting things in place and not go back.
Yeah.
So the doctors, Leona rang the doctors, went into the doctors with me. She says, "You do not give him any more. If he rings you, you ring me straight away. So I can't make appointments without her now. Can't see the doctor, which is great, which we should have put in place the first time." The postman never gives me parcels because I was getting them off the internet. So she pulled the postman up on the driveway. Says, "Give me the stuff, not Chris." So we put everything in place, and thankfully it's worked. It took a long time to get there.
That you've got to this point.
Still have temptations. I've had temptations. Still get cravings even after 3 years. Like it can be something that can set it off, or things happen in life, and you get that. But now knowing that the drug tests have been the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Knowing they're at home and there's no escape, like
no hiding place.
No. So Leona and Lucy can test me any time, which they do. They can go weeks. Sometimes they do me a couple of times a week. Sometimes it'll be a couple of months. So knowing they can test me any time is the biggest deterrent. And I advise it to everyone.
Yeah, and I imagine it's also the accountability of it. And you mentioned there that you opened up to the world. You told everyone your story, and amazing strength and sort of courage to do that, because I imagine the accountability of that as well is massive.
You need to accept that you listen, nobody put the tablets in my mouth. I did that myself. Yeah. That was nobody's to blame for that apart from myself. But yeah, you need to acknowledge you've got a big problem first and you need help. And until you do that, you sort of live in a lie. And I didn't want to live a lie anymore. Didn't want to be hide, didn't want to be sneaky, didn't want to know that I could possibly get away with it again if I didn't tell people. So that's what we did it for. And then Leona said to me, "Listen, this is what we're doing this time. There's no arguments. You do it, and this is what we're doing. So don't try and get out of it this time. We spoke about it before. You never did it. This time we are doing everything we said we were going to do."
So what were like, you went to rehab and they told you them things, and, they imagined they took you through what to do and what it should look like, and you didn't listen to it initially, but then, you do it now, and that hindsight's a wonderful thing. That's why they say it, innit?
Yeah.
But what were some of the key things that they, advised to you that you wish you'd have done?
Now. Drug tests. Tell the world, not for sympathy, just so you fit. There's no hiding place. Get it off your chest, because while you're hiding stuff, it's like a burden. It's a big burden. It's
a weight on your shoulder.
Yeah, it's a lie and a burden. So they said, just get it out any way you can. And as soon as you do that, you feel so much lighter.
Yeah.
And it gives you hope as well. That's what it did to me. It gave me well, I've done this now. Everyone knows there's no hiding place. There's no sneakiness now. And I just felt free. Yeah, felt free from the addiction more than anything else. I think that's it. I felt as though I'd, kicked the addiction away from me. Whereas before it was always hangs around you. If there's a way with addiction that you can get away with it again, addiction will find a way.
Yeah.
Because it did. I tried 3 times to stop and went back to them. The addiction's that strong. It can find a way if you don't put up all the barriers you can.
And how important was it you mentioned there about, your struggles with mental health and things like that. How important was it to address that issue as well for the success of, your recovery? Yeah,
it all goes hand in hand. So at first it was the anxiety, which then I got the tablets, which helped with the anxiety. So I still get anxiety to this day, still get down, but not as much as I did. But some days, like anything, nothing works. No matter the exercise, the gym, talking, or for a walk, some days you just feel shit.
Yeah, 100%.
And nothing works. But it took me a while to realise that that's okay. And you just get through those days and go again the next day. But it's when you're going through those days when you don't think there's a way out, that's when it becomes even more and you think you're always going to suffer. But I'll always suffer with anxiety and I'll have down times, not like I did for the previous 10 years.
And I suppose it comes to the fact that you've established habits, routines that you don't need the painkillers, you don't need the depressants. And what are some of them? We talk about it, we did the resilience thing the week in the toolbox and that. What is your toolbox to ensure that you stay
exercise?
On track?
I'm addicted to exercise.
Yeah.
So exercise, I have to do something every single day, regardless if I'm knackered or where I still I need it. Walking, love doing that. Love taking the dogs. Taking the dogs to the beach is a big one for me.
Yeah.
Love taking them to the beach. Sort of our getaway routine. I have to be busy. I have to do stuff every single day, like with work or charity stuff. All that's a coping mechanism for us. I said before, some days I'd need a couple of days where I breathe up because there's not enough hours in a day sometimes.
I know it's very real.
Yeah,
it's
massive.
very frustrating.
And I do get to that point. Probably every 6-7 weeks, I'll get to a point where I need a couple of days.
It's a full reset.
Yeah. But it's took me a while to have a structure in place. Structure is the biggest thing and a routine. But some days nothing works.
And this is probably, it goes without saying, but how instrumental has it been, for the family support you've had and everything there, and just having that?
They've given me a slap because, especially the wife and daughter saying, why didn't you tell us the truth from the start and we'd have helped you from the start. It took me 10 years.
Yeah.
So it's 10 years, not just of my life, but their life that's been affected massively by it. So, yeah, without them, I certainly wouldn't be here now. Particularly without Leona, my wife. Kids are so strong as well.
Yeah.
So strong. Lucy was just, she's the best daughter we could ever wish for, but she takes after her mum.
Yeah.
So, been without those two, and friends and family and everything, but the people living with us, Leona and Lucy, wouldn't have got through without them.
Support systems are so important, aren't they? And I feel like, again, you go back to these like stereotypes of men and different things like that. We almost feel this expectation from society that we do it on our own. We just get through it. We're just men of grit and bear it and go through it. When in reality, it's a lot of shit.
I think it's changing a bit now, though.
Yeah, and I think the narrative is becoming transparent. I feel like it is.
I think men are talking more to each other now as well. 100%. Yeah, I've had a lot of my mates that have rang us and said that they're feeling crap and they're doing, they don't know what to do. Get a lot of messages on DM, people I've never spoke to before, send them messages and stuff. So I think it is changing. There'll always be a stigma.
100%.
Because that's just the cruel world we live in, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I think it is getting. I certainly now, if I do struggle again in the future, not with the addiction side, but with the mental health side, I'll certainly speak out and ask for help. Yeah.
So you mentioned there about people going into your DMs, speaking to you. I know there's multiple and different stories that we've thought about and what I've seen on social media and that. How do you approach them conversations? Was it harder at first when you were still coming out, or is it something that's got easier through time?
Yeah, it's got a lot easier. So the main ones they ask is what can I do for this? So I get a lot of ones about the addiction. I'm addicted to this, addicted to that. How did you stop? How did you get off them? So I just tell them how I did it.
Yeah.
A lot of willpower, a lot of flipping willpower and grit, support from your family. Tell you, I say to them, you've got to tell your wife, can't do that.
Yeah.
Can't do that. I says, well, you need to. So because if you're going to get better and you're going to beat it, you're going to need your wife or you're going to need your partner or you need your family. But a lot of them say, no, definitely can't do that. I'm scared of what they'll think. But eventually then I say, well, listen, that's what I did. And that's what helped me start the process of recovery. And then eventually they come around to it. Then I'll get a message a few days later saying I did it. I told them. They were magnificent with me. It's given me a bit of hope now. They're helping and all this sort of stuff. Some still won't. Some won't. I'll check in with people and I'll say, have you told? They'll be like, no, can't. I'm not going to be able to do that. But a lot of them do. And it starts a process then.
And is it difficult not to get emotionally involved in them people? I know you mentioned there where you just said, you chase up on them.
It's tough. Leona mentions this, yeah. So it is hard. It is hard. And eventually sort of have to let them get on with it themselves. But if I get a message, I've had a message off someone I've not spoken to in 6 months, but I'll still get back to them.
Yeah.
But they just message saying, listen, doing really great, doing really well, put things in place, been no slip-ups, and they're great to hear. Really great to hear.
I mean, it's amazing for sort of like, you mentioned there that, you've got all this going on and these different things and stuff like that, and you can obviously still find time for people and help them. But how important is it to find time for yourself?
Yeah, massive. Well, I do that because, listen, when I needed it, I got the help I needed it. So it's not a burden. It's not a chore to help people. It's just the right thing to do.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, like I said, sometimes if it's having a detrimental effect on you, then you've got to put yourself first, else you can't help people.
No.
And eventually you'll burn out.
Yeah.
So I've got a good mix now. I sort of know when I need a breather, know when to come off social media for a couple of days. But it takes you a while. It takes you a while to know what's good and what's bad for you.
Yeah. I suppose it's trial and error, isn't it? Like everything. And I think, that what I'm getting from, knowing you and the conversations we have is that in life everything follows a similar format.
Yeah.
You need like balance, you need transparency, you need to have people there for you. You know, like we're social creatures as much as society tells us that.
Yeah.
You know,
but some days
you need yourself.
You'd feel shit. And when you until you learn that that's okay, and it's not okay to feel shit, but it's going to happen until you. I think you accept it that it's going to happen. You're going to have days where you just feel shit, and I think when you get to that point where you accept it and know that that's going to happen, these days are going to come. Then they've got a lot less and less, but you just get through those days.
Yeah, and I think from doing this and speaking to people and the experiences I've had is that in society there seems to be this thing where people think happiness is a thing when in reality it's more of a feeling. We feel happy, we do this, but people are like, once I have this and once I get there, oh, that's it, then I'll always be happy. No. But they don't have that.
Listen, some people it might be.
Some people, yeah.
Some people it might, and hopefully it is for some people. But it's
you've got to take the rough with the smooth.
Yeah. So at the minute, I think if you can keep 6.5, 7 out of 10, I think you'd take that.
Yeah, consistency is key.
Consistency, yeah. If you can do that, I'd deal on that now, definitely. Instead of having the 9s and 10s and going through spells like that, I would deal it 6.5, 7 out of 10.
Yeah, love that. That's a great way of putting it when you put it into that context. Why have 1 10 and 9 1s when you can just have a solid 6.5, 7.5? Yeah, that's massive, isn't it? I think so many people, and I think that does come down to social media, and we're in it. We're in the pockets of everyone's lives through what we see, so we're always comparing ourselves to others.
Social media's lies, isn't it? It's just we know it is, and we've all done it where we've put stuff on and pictures and whatnot, and you're thinking, you've done it because you think, well, that's what people want you to see. But now I don't. Now I put stuff on. If I feel crap, I'll tell them. If I feel great, I'll tell them. If I'm enjoying stuff, I'll tell them. But I think if you can do both. Particularly if you got a public, I don't like this. I don't consider myself a celebrity at all. But if you got a bit of a profile and it helps other people, then why wouldn't you do it?
Using it for the positive thing,
yeah,
100%. So before we go, there's always 2 questions I ask people that come on. The first one is,
if there were dogs,
dogs, always dogs. Yeah, I've got 3. I know you've got 2.
A bit more time yet if you need to, mate.
Yeah, no, well, there's this might take a little bit
2
of time.
questions, go on then.
So the first one is, if there was 3 habits that you could recommend to the everyday person that you do, what would they be and why?
Brilliant. I've not been asked that one before. 3 things: go for a walk, definitely. Go for a walk or exercise, gym. Yeah. Sit down with your family and have a chat. Yeah.
It's prioritise.
At the end of the day, probably at the end of the day is the best time to do it, I think. Yeah, whether that's a family meal, so we put the phones down now, not allowed the phones, and we just chat. Yeah, and sometimes we won't, we'll just eat, and there'll be the odd comment, but in general, we try and do that a lot more now.
So simple.
Yeah, and what's the third thing?
It's always, everyone struggles with the third.
The third, so what do I do? So what I do like doing, we like taking a drive.
Yeah.
So me and Leonie, we'll might get 6:30 at night, and we'll say, "Oh, do you fancy going for a drive?" And we'll drive. We actually come down here a lot.
Yeah.
Drive along the front.
Yeah.
Don't do it all the time, but definitely the exercise, definitely the family thing if you can, even if it's half an hour. I think a lot of people don't make enough time for the family, and probably the drive thing. If you can't drive, walk.
Yeah. What's the go-to exercise for you?
If I could only do one thing between now and it's actually changed a little bit actually now. So I never did weights when I played because I was tall and because I was a keeper. I was thinking, and when you used to do weights, you used to be sore, didn't you?
Yeah.
And then I have to dive around. I thought, no, I don't like that. So, but I love weights now.
Right.
I know it don't look like it, but I
do. You're a tall man. There's a lot of frame to fill.
If I could only pick one thing, it would be walking.
Yeah,
I love a walk. I do like Stairmaster, but I love going out from. I was gonna walk back from here today. I was gonna get Leona to drop me off, but I've got to do something online now later on.
Yeah,
in America. Else I would have walked back from here today, and it's about 10, 11 miles. I've done that a few times.
And you'll piss that. I've heard you're the fastest walker.
Yeah, I'm a very quick walker. Yeah, so I walk when I'm out on my own, which is all the time to be fair, because nobody keeps up with us. So if somebody has to come for a walk with me, I will let them, and then they won't come back again. Yeah. So I walk probably 12 and a half, 30-minute miles, which is quick.
That's quick.
Yeah, so just over, to get back for me, I think just over 2 hours, 2 hours 10, 2 hours 15.
Yeah.
But I was going to do it tonight, and but but now I've got to do this thing online later. So but that's in my mind now, thinking, I wanted to walk back. I've been to the gym this morning. I've done my core already. So yeah, I'll save the walks for another night.
The next question. So if there's been a habit or a routine that you've done in the past that you no longer do, or if there's a habit and a routine that you've seen anywhere that you wish you did, what would be the one that you would introduce to your daily life?
Well, I suppose the one I have introduced that I never used. Well, I did used to do it. It was ice cold showers and baths.
Yeah.
So I used to love an ice bath because of the football. But then when you finish, you never did them again. Now I love them. So now I love ice cold showers in the morning, and I do the ice cold therapy. So that helps as well.
How long do you do in there?
So so I've got one of them, what they're called, Lumi pods.
Oh yeah.
So I've got one of them with a chiller. 10, 12 minutes. Yeah, too long because you're not meant to do that long.
No, so I do it most days.
Yeah.
And like,
but you're not meant to do that long.
No, it depends on the temperature. Apparently, it's like the minute per Celsius.
Well, I have it down at like 3.
Yeah.
So you're meant to do no more than 3. Yeah, you're meant to do. Yeah, but that's always been me. I've always been extreme. So I'm like, no, it's fine.
Yeah.
Because I did them when I was a player, and I used to stay in them longer than anyone. And the showers in the morning, probably a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Ice cold, but it does make you feel so much better.
It's class.
So much better.
You can't think about anything other than your breathing because it's so.
And then when you come out, you're revitalised.
Yeah.
So what was it going to say? So the ice cold showers.
Yeah.
And what was it going? Remind me of the question.
So if there's one that you wish you did, if there was a habit or a routine that you've seen and thought, oh, I wish I did that. I feel like that'd bring something to my life. Is the one that stands out to you?
That I wish I would have done.
Or do now? Or
asking for help.
Yeah.
Or just talking.
Talking more.
When you feel shit, tell someone.
Love that.
Yeah. So I've only probably really done that in the last 3 years. Yeah.
And it doesn't cost anything to do it, does it?
And it's amazing how the people you talk to will say, well, actually, I feel shit as well.
Yeah, I mean, because there's that expression in it that like your worst problem is your worst problem, and you shouldn't feel like you can't tell someone that because you feel like, oh well, here's me being like.
That's another one that they say to us when I get the messages and stuff. They say, well, no, I'm scared what they'll think, or they'll be embarrassed. I'll be embarrassed. They'll be ashamed of me.
Yeah,
and stuff. If people closest to you, they won't be.
No,
because they'll be hurt.
Yeah,
and because more that you've not gone to them before and not asked for the help. And if it's people that then are ashamed of you, and listen, I'm on about stuff like addiction, or if you're hurting people, that's a totally different ballgame. Yeah. Because then they will be ashamed. But if it's around the mental health and you're depressed and you're down and you've not spoken to people about it's addiction, they'll be upset that you've not gone to them before. And I've had it so many. Why don't you come to us? Why don't you say, we're there, would have helped you, stuff. So but a lot of people say that they're scared of what people will think of them, like within their setup, within their family, their friends. But you need to get better. You need that support around. I'd tried so many times to stop on my own. But when you're on your own, you're only accountable to yourself.
You can kid yourself.
Kid yourself. Well, I'll stop next week.
Yeah.
I'll take them for a couple of days, and then Monday. That's it. Amount of times I said, "Wow, this is the last night. Sunday, Monday's tomorrow. Stop." Oh, dear me. Yeah. Said it 1,000 times. Never did it.
But when you've got someone who loves you and
and looking after you,
reins you in.
Yeah.
It's again, it's that accountability and
that
external power.
Yeah, you need support. You need support around you.
So before we go, I'd just like for give you a chance for a shout out to any services that you'd recommend to anyone, or any work that you're doing.
Yeah, so I do lots of my roles now. I love doing the stuff I'm the ambassador for the Liverpool Foundation, LFC Foundation. So we do a lot of stuff which I love. That's a big part of me now. So 5 or 6 years I've been with them now. I love going into schools, going into men's groups, football, all that sort of stuff. Probably more the talking side of stuff, which I love. We've got some involved with Jack Knowles, who first contacted me a few years ago when I first come out in 2000. When I first retired, I think it was actually. When it come out there, I was suffering with mental health. So he runs Wellness On Side, which is just being relaunched now, and YAPA, which stands for You Are Perfect Always. So it's apps, and so it's basically all around your mental health and wellness. So there's some massive updates coming on that soon, which I'm fully behind. Walking's brilliant. We do a lot of stuff, a lot of charity stuff with them. I'm just trying to think who else. Yeah. But this is not plug-in stuff. This is just stuff that's really helped me.
Yeah.
The other one, the Supreme CBD.
Yeah.
When I stopped taking the tramadol, that helped me hugely. And it doesn't help everyone.
It helped me
but
when
you tried it, didn't you?
Yeah, it's brilliant.
So with anxiety, so that's played a huge part, and that's why I bang on about that, because I know it worked for me. I'm not saying it's worked for everyone, but the people that have messaged us and tried it after a bit of advice, the messages you get back then are unbelievable to see. So yeah, I'm involved with a few bits and bobs. I get offered stuff all the time, and I've tried other stuff and it didn't work for me. And I said, look, that don't work for me.
Yeah.
But these ones really do, and my family as well. So yeah, but yeah, there's quite a few bits and bobs. It's just juggling it all in and trying to fit it all in.
Keep juggling it.
I know. Yeah. We'll do. Yeah, we'll do. I need to keep busy. I need to keep active, but I don't like to think too far ahead. So I know what I'm doing each day, each week. And then that's it. I can't think too far ahead.
Having some sort of like fluidity, but not too much.
Yeah. If I know, like, if I'm thinking, well, you got this on the next month, it's in the diary, but I'll deal with that as each week comes.
It comes back to that balance, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like we mentioned before, you become too rigid, it snaps.
Yeah.
If it's too loose, it has no structure. So it's about finding that middle ground. And I know that sounds.
So week to week, that's why. As long as I know what I'm doing that week, I'm happy with that.
That's perfect, mate. I really appreciate you coming on.
And well done for all you do. Loving the stuff at Edge Hill. Obviously, Edge Hill as well.
Yeah. That's how we.
So it's that. So I've lived near to Edge Hill for 20 odd years now. Yeah, stuff in the community. But then obviously when we met, we were aligned. I think we will want the same things, which is why we get on so well. And yeah, loving the stuff up at Edge Hill. We've got some good ideas coming forward. You will do. Good luck with your wedding.
Nice one. How was that? Is that all right?
Superb, mate. Happy day.